These my dollars make it hurt. These my dollars make it hurt. These my dollars make it hurt.
It is the penultimate weekend of the UCI Cyclocross calendar, and we're here today, this Saturday, with one of the oldest races on the UCI calendar. This is the Telenet Superprestige finale from Middelkerke for the Noordzee Cross, a race which goes all the way back to 1959. Let's look at the standings, though, because they are mighty close at the top. Just 4 points separate our leader, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, from Inge van der Heijden after 7 rounds. Denise Betsema also in there with a shout of the 25,000 euros that the winner of the series overall will get at the end of today. Those three locked together, very close, just 2 points between Denise Betsema and Inge van der Heijden. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado on 95 points, just 4 points ahead of Inge van der Heijden. So we are set for a brilliant final round, round 8 of this Telenet Superprestige. Don't forget, coming after this will be the men's elite race. We do, of course, have the women's elite race first. My name is Jez Cox, and I'm pleased to say I'm joined also remotely, because he's over in the States, by Jeremy Powers. How are you, Jeremy?
Hey, Jez. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. It's a beautiful day here in Massachusetts this morning.
Oh, lovely. Yes. Well, let me update people on what weather is like in Middelkerke on the North Sea coast. It's about 8 degrees. I'm actually talking to you from London, where it's kind of similar weather. Overcast, very light wind blowing in off the channel. And the North Sea, I should say, in actual fact, is a little bit further north this. No chance of any rain, and actually looking at the shots of the riders swarming up, Jeremy, it looks fairly dry and tacky. Of course, they have a big sandbank on this course. Maybe for people who don't know and haven't seen the Middelkerke round yet, could you tell us a little bit more about what they're going to be in store for the riders today?
Yeah, well, if you've been a cyclocross rider for a long time, then you have raced this track. And you probably, if you're a fan, you've seen it. It's a pretty traditional track. The courses had to move over the years because of different things happening with the politics, but it's kind of been in this area that I recall for some time. It's got some steep, really tricky off-cambers, similar to the race in Ruddervoorde. It's got a bunch of turns on some kind of awkward hills. It does have that big sand strip, as they call it. It goes through a couple of different, big ditches that the riders have to go down, so it's very hard on the riders, like bodies, hands, backs, things like that. But look for a lot of speed changes. It's not a big climbing course like we see in Zonhoven or Havre or something like that. It's definitely more of a technical cross today.
Yeah, it has to be said, Jeremy, I think without those ups and downs and those steep banks they have to make their way up, this would be a very, very flat course. In fact, it would probably be one of the flattest courses of the season, wouldn't it? I've heard some of your countrymen and countrywomen calling these things, is it upperties? I hadn't come across this term before, but I don't know what I'd refer them to. It is, as you say, it's kind of like dike ditches they roll into, and then these really steep banks, but also, as you say, quite tight turns into them. We'll come back to that because we're looking at our front row here. This is Denise Betsema, who sits third in the Telenet Superprestige standings, and here is our leader, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado of Alpecin de Koning, who leads on 95 points. She has just 4 points over Inge van der Heijden. And this is Annemarie Wurst, 6th in those World Championships at Hoogerheide last weekend. And this is the woman who is within a shout of winning this Telenet Superprestige today. The series overall, Inge van der Heijden sits second on 91 points. Manon Bakker, an almost entirely Dutch front row, as you would come to expect, I guess. And this is Laura Verdenschot, 15th in those elite World Championships last weekend. Of course, as you might expect, I think this is Leonie Bentveld we're actually looking at here. I do apologise. We are looking at Leonie Bentveld. She was 7th in the under-23s race last weekend. And this is very much the cyclocross version of the Tour of Lombardy. 1 week on from those World Championships and a chance to see how the form is held. And that's the last time we're going to see that in this year's Telenet Superprestige, because the penultimate weekend of cyclocross racing on the UCI calendar is underway. And it does look like the under-23 rider, Leonie Bentveld, has got a flying start there, Jeremy.
Yeah, Bentveld right out of the blocks there with a little bit of pep in the step as she came off, and they are going, like you said, in a little bit of a different direction here as they go through today. Quick here on this new pavement, hot right-hand turn right at the end there as they go through. But this is a big day for the rider in second place, and of course all of the riders that have had hardships. Anna-Marie Verse as well as Lucinda Brand, both with injuries this year, coming back and have good form today.
Betsema getting caught up early on there and losing quite a lot of places. She started on the front row, Betsema, and she's already back down to about 15th, 16th place. So she's going to have to do some battling on her way up as well. It is not muddy today, Jeremy, is it? It's kind of tacky, and this is an exceptionally grassy course too. So it should be pretty quick, I'd have thought.
Yeah, well, lumpy for sure. You know, very, very lumpy. I think it's a heavy grass track, and you can see these ditches and these big berms that this course has become known for. It's very quick, up, down. There's a bit of mud in the pocket at the bottom of that little uphill section there. So, yeah, Benveld, though, leading out the front here, just off of a good campaign all year long. Super young rider here coming in and, leading the front of this race right away.
Yep, she's the big, tall Bingo Pal Salson rider there, just getting overtaken now by the series leader, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, who will want a smooth run at this. In third there right now is Lucinda Brandt, who of course was third at those Elite World Championships last weekend in Ugarida, and this was the moment where Benveld just lost a little footing there, an opportunity for Celine Del Carmen Alvarado to get out front, and I'm guessing, Jeremy, she will want to stay there, just stay out of trouble. The consistency is so key if she's going to win that 25,000 euros for the winner overall of this series today.
And we've been treated to battles like that every year, Jess. This has come down in the men's side. Looking at these overalls have come right down to the final race. So, after 8 rounds, they still have this opportunity where, she can't have any problems. Alvarado cannot have any problems today, and she's got more competition on the line than she has in some of the other editions because of the injuries, right? With Anna-Marie Verst, who's flying right now off a victory earlier this week in Maldeham. Lucinda Brand, fresh off of the 3rd spot at the World Championships just a week ago. These riders are going to be hungry for more success.
Yeah, there was that race in Maldeham midweek as well to break things up. But this is, in a way, today an opportunity for the riders who've peaked for that World Championships in Huggeride a week ago. And what a brilliant weekend of racing it was as well. To try and finish their season strongly, there will be a few riders in here maybe thinking about contracts for next year's cyclocross season and making sure they finish strongly and get some more of those UCI points that are up for grabs as well. Here are the hurdles for the first time, the barriers, as we sometimes call them. And Lucinda Brand has used the run-in to them to close right up behind Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. Brand sits, where is she now in the overall standings? I have to go back and check that off the top of my head. I will find it.
She probably won't be stuck too well into them just because of the injury and the timeout.
Of course.
Yeah, there was a broken finger for her and Tabor at the World Cup, and then there was time away, antibiotics. Then, it kind of went. It was a season that Lucinda Brand, was such a talented rider. It's so hard to train during the season, Jez, and she was trying to come back to form. You're the best of the best if you can build form, race, and continue to grow throughout the season. Brand, of course, one of the best out there, did that this year, and everything that she gets from this point on is a cherry on top, but she's just really been she's been phenomenal considering the circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, she broke that hand in the warm-up way back when, about a third of the way into the season, really, a quarter of the way into the season, really. It took a fair bit of time out. I think at first, Jeremy, she seemed confident in being able to overcome it quite quickly, but thankfully she's been sensible about it, her and her medical advisors, I suspect. And this does mean she is finishing the season possibly slightly fresher than some of the others who've pressed on and done the whole season all the way through. I mean, I'm sure she won't have eased off the training while her hand was healing, but she certainly wasn't racing, of course.
Well, I just got to note that alligator in the back for 2 seconds, but yes, I do think that she's it's so hard with an injury. You're always you're frustrated by that. You'd want it to be as easy as just like, oh yeah, I eased off the training and I took my time, but it's often more stressful than that in reality, This, we're looking now at Inge van der Heide, who's come through into third. So these two are edging out a little bit of a gap, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado and Lucinda Brand. Alvarado, let me remind you, is the leader of the Telenet Superprestige, and right now she has that 25,000 euros in her hand. The reason I keep mentioning it, I don't like to keep banging on about money. These are professional riders, of course, Jeremy, and you'll know as we watch Brand just losing her footing there as she unclips and dismounts, just how important it is, this prize money, the difference between first and second. I think you're seeing a battle for it right now
because it's 25,000 down to 16,000. And that is an important sum of money for a professional bike rider.
Yeah, of course. And these riders are accustomed to that. You know, this isn't the first series that they'll win. I mean, of course, Alvarado is the former world champ, as is Braun. So all of them doing well. They all want to have an opportunity here at this overall. But I think there's also, you know, pride and a lot on the line today. They want to, you know, for everyone, there's a different reason to want to win. And I think for Alvarado, she wants to put a stamp on what's been a phenomenal season. She focused on this series particularly, and she's now leading it by 4 points. Really, for her, she doesn't have to win it to win the overall, but she can't drop out of this race. She can't have any problems. She really has to stay focused and have a solid day out and beat her competitors that she's been in the races weeks in and weeks out with. And one of those riders in second place overall is Inge van der Heijden.
Yeah, and Inge van der Heijden has used that little slip by Lucinda Brand to make her way past. Anne-Marie Wurst is the next rider for 777. They're making her way through. And Anna Kay looking like she's finishing the season strongly as well. We now see Denise Betsema after that sluggish start with a foot out and stumbling a little bit into that first right-hand corner, starting to work her way through in the way that we've seen her do so many times over the last few seasons. Just metronomically making her way through. Alvarado through the little washboard section there. I don't think, as we go through these big pumps that look pretty new to me, Jeremy, as well, I'm not sure if we're actually going to be using, because we didn't see it much in the warm-up laps, the pump track here, because there's a fantastic new pump track on this course too.
Yeah, some modifications for sure, and you know, sometimes things change. This has always been a really tricky race. I think some of the sections have definitely been mixed up. Some stay the same though, from my viewpoint, anyways, how I recall it. But this race has definitely gone through a lot of changes. But you know, they've got a really strong cyclocross community here because it's been on the docket for the better part of a century. You know, it's like, this race has been around for a hot minute.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a very tasty second group there forming up as well. And this is the third group on the road. Marion Norbert-Riberol is just trying to hang on to the back wheel of Denise Betsema and Anna Kay there up in 6th place. Leonie Bentveld after that very fast start, just settling in with Manon Bakker there. And this is what, the 4th or 5th group on the road here as well. But all the while, our series leader, Alvarado, is getting clear track ahead of her, Jeremy. And this is one of those slightly tackier bits, which I guess will break up a little bit more during the elite women's race and through to the elite men. As you watch Inge van der Heijden, they're just losing it.
Yeah. Yes, it's a tricky 180 right there, and you can see how muddy it is on that part of the course, where the other parts of the course, you know, they've got ample traction, but you can see, look how bumpy it is. That constantly is taking that tire tread off the ground, and the riders are having to kind of lean their body weight and look at things differently. And as the riders go over it at more and more speed and they get a little bit more fatigued, it starts to add up, and it gets a little bit trickier every lap. And that time, you know, it's strange off camber 180 section. Van der Heijden just unfortunately lost her momentum through that section, and when you do that, that's when you can't get through something. And look at this section here, though. You see that different style, right? That's where Alvarado's taking some time back. Braun, this is costly for Braun.
Oh, dearie me. That did not go well.
Nope.
Yeah, you can see she tried to make it up to that first step up, didn't she? Nearly made it and then rear dismounted and understandably kind of nowhere to go other than dig the feet in and hope they don't move. That was not great.
No, and that's exactly what this course is known for, is these tricky little sections like this. And you saw that Alvarado had a fresh run into it. She was able to carry a ton of speed and momentum into it, and she nailed it. And then you saw Anne-Marie Wurst. She didn't even try. She just hopped right off and ran up it.
Well, the Dutch woman, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, looks super smooth and dialed today, and she is only edging out that gap as these problems happen behind. And, of course, those problems are happening in amongst slight but noticeable traffic, and Alvarado can just settle in and get on with things. Of course, were she to have any problems, if I'm going to chuck some jeopardy in here, and not finish, for instance, and I can't see that happening, certainly at the moment, then that would mean things would swing very much in the favour of Inge van der Heijden, who only is 4 points behind her, I should say, in the overall standings. There is Inge van der Heijden. There's Lucinda Brand after that troublesome dismount halfway up that really, really steep slope. And if you're watching this at home, folks, thinking, well, yeah, I could ride up, I tell you, it's like a grassy wall. And the problem, as Jeremy pointed out, is some of these steep ramps, you actually haven't got much speed into at all. So here we are back on the barriers again. We get a look back down the track. The last rider coming through at the back there is Denise Betsema. And surprise, surprise, at the end of this long season, Jeremy, we're looking at almost entirely Dutch women as we look down the field there as well. All the way back to, I think our first non-Dutch woman there will be Anna Kate, the British rider, who's in the top 10.
Yeah, I think Mariette Norva-Ribeiro is also just stuck right in there, maybe 7th spot. She was the rider in the green and white. That's coming across the Belgian rider. But look at this. This is a great shot here of this 180 down into like a little bit of a sandier part. If you're not familiar with Middelkerke, it's up on it's the North Sea cross. So it's kind of above Koksijde, if you're looking at a map of Belgium, if my memory serves me correctly, but quite far north and often windy and a little bit chilly. But today the riders are out in shorts and short sleeve gloves and some short-fingered gloves for some of the riders. So, yeah, but this is one of those really tricky off-cambers that I was talking about. That section there that this course is known for. Turning on a downhill off-camber is always sketchy, but especially if there's precipitation. But the riders lucked out today in that it's quite tacky, so they're not getting hung up as much. But you can see this is another one of those, almost these bowls, this little embankment here, where you're kind of having to go up onto the side of it and then fly through. But a lot of undulation, a lot of ground firm underground. And then this is one of these ditches that they've put some boards across this year. But when I raced it, I do not recall the boards being there.
No, I can imagine if it gets a certain type of dip, you're going to get a 700C wheel straight in there and go right OTB. It's bumpy as well, isn't it? It's very nice and dry. It kind of takes us back to the start of this series, back in Ruddervoorde for round 1 in October, right at the end of October, of course, where we had more deep sand, steep run-ups, and a kind of a course which has some notes which touch on what we're seeing right here, right at the end of the season. Of course, the winner of round 1 was Denise Betsema, ahead of Inge van der Heijden and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. So the 3 riders we see in play at the end of the series. Alvarado's had 3 wins, though, so she deserves to be leading overall. It's not just through consistency, it is actually through individual round dominance. We're looking there, Jeremy, at Anne-Marie Wurst, who looks like she's in great form as she's running through here. 6th at those Hoogerheide World Championships 1 week ago.
Yeah, she's in good form too. I think Anna-Marie's looking at down a good, definitely a podium here, but I'll be curious to see if she can make up some time and find a little bit. Alvarado right now is riding this course the best, right? She's ridden some sections that the other women cannot, and that's affording her that kind of that nice gap. But we will see as we come in now, as Anna-Marie first just really has to push a big gear up over that section. She's linked up with her teammate Inge van der Heijden, who's sitting 2nd overall. They come down to this section. Look at this just undulation, just this quick narrow part of the course. This is what I was talking about, as the riders have to come up. Lots of speed changes, lots of speed limits also on this one. But as we see the gap, not out of sight, out of mind yet. So Anna-Marie Wurst got a little bit of work to do to get back to Alvarado here.
Jeremy, how do you see the team situation having played out this year? The 777 team, certainly by the strength of their parts, seems to me, and amongst the women, to have been the most consistent all-round team. In previous years, the last couple of years, it's been much more Pal Saus and Bingo, but actually the 777 riders have been very consistently highly placed throughout, and very evident as well, haven't they?
They have, yeah. They've got a good team. Look at that, just a little bit sideways as she loses a little bit of momentum there, pulling off her gloves. So this is one of those sections where you want to have a lot of speed, but those are super steep. Those are like hitting brick walls as you come through each of them. Watch now as Anna-Marie Wurst comes through.
Yeah, we're watching the front of the race, of course. I can only imagine as you get further down the field and riders start to get a little bit more tired at the end of a long season, at the end of a 50-minute race as well. I'm certain, Jeremy, there's going to be riders not making it up then. I think there might be a few feet down because that looked tough.
Yeah, the reason an organizer puts something like that in is to slow the lap time down. You can see that they're doing, just around 7 minutes. If this is the second lap and you get to start in there, this is around a 7-minute lap. So without that, they would be knocking off 20 seconds or something like that. So they're trying to add some time to the course to add some space so that it's not just an F1 track out there. As now Brand comes through and tries to hop on to Anna-Marie Wurst and Inge van der Heijden.
And now the riders are getting much more spread out, kind of even 8 to 10 second gaps between them. And Denise Betsema, the next of those to go through. So these riders are going to be racing across 6 laps. So they're looking at like 12-minute laps, something like that. 6 laps in total, and this is lap 3. No, 2 teammates there, as Jeremy said. Anne-Marie Wurst and Inge van der Heijden hooked up together. Is there anything they can do to help each other, Jeremy? And how would it differ if, say, one of them was a Pal Saus and Bingo rider, for instance?
Well, it's with Betsema already behind Inge van der Heide. The truth is that this is sort of a textbook run for Alvarado. Right now, there wouldn't be any benefit to Annemarie Verst even giving Inge van der Heide the sprint finish for second place or something like that. The truth is that Inge has a good chance at taking second place regardless, as long as she finishes up top, and Betsema is already 2 points behind her. So I think they'll keep that in their mind, especially if Betsema has some, a miraculous ride here where she's able to come back and get in the mix of things with those two. But I think for what I see, we've just got a proper bike race on our hands without the overall, as long as Alvarado continues to ride the way that she is.
Viewers who are watching might be wondering why they've not seen the sea yet, this being the North Sea Cross or the North Sea Cross. We are very near. Where the big sand pit is, if you were just to go a little bit north of there, you'd be crossing the Warrender Dunen, and the Warrender Dunen is effectively the little inland bit of sand dunes just before you get to the lovely beach. And it is a lovely sandy beach here, actually, between Oostende and Westende. The Belgian place names, I've always loved this, particularly in Flanders, tend to make sense. Unlike where I come from in England, where you just have random names that don't mean anything. They make sense. You have Oostende to the east, Westende to the west, and Middelkerke in the middle. It's like Jeremy is like, yes, someone's actually thought about that. It makes sense. But,
yeah, I used to go watch the basketball games up in Oostende, I know it well. But that's also where the 2021 World Champs were. So they've got a lot of history up in this area for cyclocross and for the basketball games. Back when I was living there, that would be a nice way to get out in the evening, go see a movie or something, and check out a basketball game. You got to stay busy.
Yes, Jeremy referencing those fantastic Ostend UCI World Championships for cyclocross just a couple of years ago, where, of course, the course itself actually kissed the sea, didn't it? We saw those wonderful shots of the riders swooping across the sand and finding the firmer sand, of course, as the sea was lapping around their cyclocross tyres as well. Wonderful shots. Now, this is Lucinda Brandt trying to chase her way back onto those two 777 riders in second and third and get herself back on the podium for the day with just 1 week to go. There are, in actual fact, only 3 more UCI cyclocross races after this on the calendar. There is the X2O Badkamers Trophy tomorrow in Lille, the Croatian Cross, which I believe Jeremy is going to be on commentary for, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, next weekend we've got the Exact Cross and the final round of the X2O Trophy, the Brussels University race. There is one more race after that, a C1 UCI race in Oostmalle, but this weekend and next weekend is when we see the big series finishing off. And, of course, this series, as we watch the series leader rolling around, is the one which is scored purely by points. I should just point that out to people at home. They're actually kind of neatly, our big UCI cyclocross series are all sort of scored slightly differently. This is traditional in that you score a number of points for your finishing positions, and the person with the highest points at the end of 8 rounds wins overall. That kind of makes sense. The Exact Cross is a series which has no overall scoring at all. It's just literally a series of one-day races. And then there's the X2O Badkamers Trophy, which I quite like on paper, Jeremy, which is done on time. Which is your favourite way of doing it?
I would say that the time is the coolest way. I think points is quite traditional, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the time is something totally different, and I think it's a unique way to think about it, and it's a differentiator for me. I like it. I think it's cool.
Of course, viewers at home will be well into watching their road racing and even stage racing already at the start of the road season. There is something wonderful about coming back to cross. For those of you who've been enjoying watching the other racing that's going on the road, the pure simplicity of it, particularly this Superprestige. Let me start again. Telenet Superprestige season. Jeremy, I've got a question for you. This sand we have here, how much of it is fake?
Well,
because that looks mighty fresh and plump, and I know there is a sand pit here all the time, but
yeah,
it's surely not as plump as that.
I mean, like we were saying before, this sits legitimately right in between Ostende, and then at the bottom is Kokseide, and then right in the middle here we've got Middelkerke. I mean, really, all they have to do is take one of those big land movers problems for Betsema and drag a big bucket loader full full of sand over and drop it in, and they're ready to go. So they had, whether it's there naturally or not, they didn't have to go far to get it there. How's that?
So it's fake, right? Okay, so it's fake. So we've got that from the mouth of Cyclocross himself. Actually, no, you can see, can't you? Even in these parts of the course, and that compacted bit where they're running through the ditch where the planks are, you can see how sandy the ground is anyway. There is sand interwoven with the Flemish grass and compacted mud. So there's very definitely is plenty of sand dunes around. But yeah, some of it, shall we say, has been moved and piled up in order to make that fantastic sandbank to the northern edge of this course. Here we are back into the washboards again. And Celine Del Carmen Alvarado just carrying a little bit more speed, Jeremy, this time through it, I think.
Yeah, last time she had taken her gloves off, and I think she lost a little bit of her momentum and her tempo through that section, but she's back on it there. She corrected that, and I was just going to add, today is actually a cool day because, well, it's the end of the day in Japan, but one of the races that you were talking about, there's only so many races left, which hurt. That hurt me deeply to hear that. But today actually was, on Saturday, was the return of CX Tokyo, which is not on a lot of people's radars, but a phenomenal event that I've done many times. Also a beach cross, but happens right in Odaiba, which is where they did the triathlon for the Olympics back when it was in Tokyo. A great course, great organizer back in the day. Ryoji was the organizer, if I recall. But they've brought it back, and this is the first time it's back since the Olympics and then the pandemic. Phenomenal race, really cool. Steve Chanel's been over there. I've gone over. A lot of different riders have joined that race. So that race finally back today, but not a UCI race this year, but traditionally has been. So very cool track, very, very cool race. I hope that it does. As this sport continues to evolve, we've been hearing a ton about that over the last weeks from Flanders Classics and the World Cup. Super cool to have this opportunity to see the CX Tokyo come back.
Well, that is good to hear about races that we might otherwise not hear about, and good to hear that you've done it as well, Jeremy, of course, because throughout, well, you know, it is, I mean, that's my next question, I guess, in a way. We are 2 or 3 weeks away from quite a lot of these European-based cyclocross riders, and I guess the Americans as well, being right at the end of the season, and then I guess we have a real difference in what they have upcoming as well. You've got the likes of Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, who's still going to be doing some cross-country mountain biking, but also racing on the road as well. I wonder what percentage of this field of 39 riders here we have in the women's elite race are going to... I'm sure they'll all have something of a break, even just a little bit of a break. But then I wonder how many of them, for them, it literally is just preparing for the next cyclocross season and actually not having too many big goals in between.
Yeah, they got to take a break after this. These are most of these riders here are true crossers, as you see there. Just a hardship on this climb again for Anna-Marie Verst, just trying to get through matching Brand. But I think someone like Brand will take a small break, but then she's focused on the classics again, if I recall what I've read in the press. She wants to do a good road season, but on the cobbled stuff in April and this and that. That's not completely crazy. We're seeing that Vanderpool, who's just stopped here, he's going to take some time off, but then he's going to get going in just about a month at Strada Bianchi. So the way that the riders do the periodization of their seasons now, they take more smaller breaks and don't lose as much form, and that's cool if you get older and you've got the volume under you. For the younger riders, it's my opinion that you probably need a good 4 or 5 week break without any real intensity, and just that time away to let your body and heart and everything completely reset, because you can get your form back up quicker when you're older. Just it seems as though, like, late 20s, early 30s, as a cyclist, you've got to take a little bit more time to you can't take as much time, and you've got to continue to keep your intensity up, and you got to continue to stay on the bike and stay fit, because it's harder to build back up.
Tell me about it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
There we go. Lucinda Brand has taken a flyer. She's caught these two 777 riders, Inge van der Heide and Anne-Marie Verst, and gone straight past them. And she isn't half pushing a big gear. It's very noticeable at times with Brand, isn't it? She really presses on the pedals in a way that the other two aren't. You can see a real difference in their cadence, particularly on the hilly bits.
Yeah, Brand is class all around, man. She's a champ. Everyone here is, but Brand knows how to finish these races. Those world champ stripes on her, just on her elbows there, are not by accident. She knows how to finish up a race, and she's going to be going all in. This is that race now for Betsma in 5th spot, with Mariette Norbert Rieberol also coming back, trying to come back to these riders up front.
And Denise Betsma started the whole Telenet Superprestige season for her with a win in Rudeboda. She hasn't won again since in this series anyway, and she's not had actually the winningest of years in a way. Quite consistent, but not quite as many, or nowhere near as many wins as she had last season, Jeremy, either. But she was second in round 2, second in round 3. In fact, she's been second how many times now? 3 or 4 times now in this series alone. And some of the time that does come down to her finishing sprint, which has traditionally been a bit of a weakness for her, hasn't it? In that she's something of a diesel as a cyclocross rider. I don't know what your take is on that with Betsema.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good point. I think Betsema. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really heard anything. I think a lot of these riders, truthfully, didn't maybe expect that Fem van Empel, Puck Peters, and Sharon Van Anrooy would be as good as they were. They've been coming up for a long time and they've been nipping at the heels, but they were dominant this year, and that's a changing of the guard. That's a big switch up. You know what I mean? If you look at those 3 riders, placing in the front a handful of times the years before, where they were winning World Cups and getting there and placing on the podium, but they were outright the favorites every time they lined up this year. And between the 3 of them, they really shuffled back this generation of actually Alvarado, Betsema, as well as Brand and Anna Marie, and all of the riders that have traditionally been on the podiums. And I think that's that is how it goes. This is an unfortunate reality of being a cyclist, is that these younger riders come up, they're very hungry, they've got a lot of spark and snap and explosivity, and they're very hungry, and I think that Betsema's been a bit of a victim of that. I don't know that she's had her best season either. You combine those 2 things, and that's where you end up with a lot of 4ths and 5ths. And it's not to say it's bad. It's just a big change for her.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out, as Jeremy said, no Sharon Van Anrooy, the new under-23 world champion, and no Fem van Empel or Puck Peters, the first and second in those elite championships at Ugarida as well. Understandably, in actual fact, it's notable that none of our world champions, including juniors from last week at Ugarida, are racing here today, in a way that they might have been otherwise, some of them as well. But it does make sense, a big build-up to those championships last weekend as well. And, you said it, Jeremy, those 3 have been not head and shoulders above, but quite a long way ahead of the other elite women this year. And you've only got to look at the World Cups to see how many times it's been one of them which has come out on top. Particularly a great season for Sharon Van Anrooy, who I'm sure, from now on we will see competing at elite world championships alongside Puck Peters and Fem van Empel. Of course, that's the way it's been throughout the under-23s and right the way down through the juniors between those 3. The 3 of them seem to have really pushed each other on as well, don't they? And as you say, separated the 3 of themselves from pretty much everyone else, including Lucinda Brand and Marianne Vos, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado and the likes of them.
Yeah, those 3 are having fun. You know what I mean? They're on their rise. They're just climbing the ladder so fast, and I think they're just really they're in they're in such a good place mentally that I don't think they can have a bad day. They wake up every day and they're the best, some of the best cyclocross racers in the world, and they're on a trajectory for really great things. They've got a lot of momentum behind them, great teams, probably very long contracts for many of them. And, Van Anrooy was also the winner of the Tour de France Femme for the Young Riders jersey. Puck is, signed to this very long deal with the Alpecin de Koenig program. Femme just moved over to Jumbo-Visma. So everyone's got a different trajectory and everyone's laughing, as I like to say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They do seem to be really enjoying themselves as well. So these are the riders in 3rd and 4th coming through. The 777 duo of Anna-Marie Wurst and Inge van der Heide. They're going to be nearly a minute down, though, now on Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, who started really strongly and is just settling, just holding a very, very similar tempo every single lap. Clear space all around her. She could look over her shoulder and she still wouldn't really be able to see Lucinda Brand coming, who's around about 30 seconds down anyway on this twisty, windy course.
Yeah. Yeah, Alvarado's really good here, especially on this kind of track. Very technical. She's historically done really well on courses like this. She won the race in Hullahem as well, the Super Prestige there, and yeah, she's been really good. She also won in Zolder, which was during the Christmas period, which was a really nice race. She can win against the biggest riders, and she's got the confidence of having already been world champ. She's just got a lot of confidence, and she's got a lot of experience. She also, I think, any rider doesn't want it to be like, oh, I won by the skin of my teeth, although that's exciting for the fans. She looks at this race today and she wants to end on a high note and really put like I said, some whipped cream and a cherry on top and enjoy this one.
Lucinda Brand again, just having to put a foot down there. And I don't know, far be it from me to try and coach her while she's racing, Jeremy, but I just wonder whether sometimes she seems to be becoming a cropper more than the others. And I wonder whether it is that big gear that she's still pushing even into these tight corners. She stays, all right, I was about to say she stays seated and drives out of them. She's out of the saddle as soon as I say it. But we've seen that a few times now, haven't we? Just getting 3/4 of the way up, powering up it like that. And then getting stuck.
I think she would look back at that and realize that she's losing time. It's weird what you do mentally when you're in the race like that, and I think she's just trying to push herself to get that section right. And she's got a bit of a buffer over Inge van der Heide as well as Anna Marie, so she's trying to find time where she knows that Alvarado's taking it back. She knows she can finish this off if she can ace that section, and she seems to, the thing is you can't do it if you don't try. The footing's not great on it, but so she's just continuing to try to get back some time on the course and ace that section and do it while she's doing it. And it's not easy, but she's continuing to push herself. But unfortunately, each time she is losing time there. She would be better to be able to just jump off and run that section and have that be the time that she gets. But she's continuing to try to find time on that section.
Anna-Marie Wurster just putting in a bike length or two into Inge van der Heide there. Those two have been together. It has been Wurster who's been leading the most anyway. Inge van der Heide now just dropping back a little bit. We get a nice up-close shot there of the canyon of Celine del Carmen Alvarado. That's a lovely colour, Jeremy, isn't it? I love that. It's kind of a oily purple.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful bike. I mean, I saw it up and close, and also the other one that's really cool is Puck Peters' World Champ. It's a white bike with splattered World Champ colors all over it. Super dope. I loved seeing that. I saw that for the first time in Antwerp at the World Cup when I was there on the ground, and yeah, really nice bikes. Canyon definitely been putting a lot of energy into making some custom machines for each of these riders to really feel, that love from the brand and from their sponsors, and to celebrate all of the success they've had as a program together.
Come on, Lucinda, being shouted over her shoulder at Lucinda Brand, but she's got these two snapping at her heels, and Brand is just dropping back a little bit. There's such a difference in the body language of Lucinda Brand and Celine del Carmen Alvarado. As we watched that shot of Alvarado coming towards the barriers just now, Jeremy, I thought, oh my goodness, what's happened? She's about to withdraw, because she looks so calm. I thought she'd slowed right down, was about to unclip and get off the course or something, but no, it wasn't. She was just getting towards the barriers, and she looks completely in control. A very, very different body language to what we're seeing with Brand, where, as you say, she is really pushing.
Yeah, she is. I think Brand, like I said, she's still building form off the injury, and she was ecstatic to be able to get third place. So she at the Worlds last weekend, she beat Alvarado last weekend at the Worlds. Alvarado, on her social media said, "Hey, I just didn't have the day I wanted," but Brand did, and I think she had the day that she was really hoping for. I mean, to go up against such a field and to come off with third, that was just probably about the best she could have asked for based on the result. I think Brand could have been a favorite for the race with the amount of talent she has, but given the season and the comeback, I think that third was just a great result for Brand at the Worlds. But for Alvarado, she comes off of last weekend a little bit of a disappointment, and sometimes the riders just get it a little bit wrong with their peak. They do a big training block, or they try to super compensate, what I mean, take a huge recovery period and taper into the Worlds. For some riders, that just closes them up, and they never really reach their best at the Worlds. They're still good, but they didn't reach their best, their peak. Maybe for Alvarado, she's just hit a peak. This is, again, a theory, but this is something that could happen, and it has happened to many riders over the years. It's just you miss it by a couple of days, and we're at the next weekend, and she's flying.
I think you might be absolutely right. She made a little mistake in the sand there, didn't quite make it as far as she wanted to at speed, and she smiled about it because the crowd are making a right rack. You know what it's like through there. They're baying them on and cheering the rider who makes it the furthest in through that sand. And she actually laughed and smiled with the crowd. It looks that way to me, Jeremy, like she is in absolutely peaking form today.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. I think she's flying right now. I think she's got good control of this race. She's, you can hear the crowd yelling for her down there on the sidelines. They're all happy to see one of the riders that they've followed throughout this entire series continue to dominate. So she's in a very good place. And this is, gosh, having races off the front, it's a great feeling because you're completely in control and you're almost doing like you're not always in pain. There's other races where you're just constantly in pain. You know what I mean? And you can see a little bit of Brand as she comes through. She's like hurting today to really keep these other two riders, Inge Verheide as well as Annemarie Verst, just off the back here.
There they are. They're back together again now. Inge van der Heide has clawed away back up to the back wheel of Annemarie Verst. And Lucinda Brandt into the pumps by herself.
It's two Alvarados on this one right here.
Yeah, it does look that way. Oh, Brandt just really pushing there and going sideways a little bit across the top of that washboard. Kicks again afterwards. And we know now that our leader, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, has just one lap to go. Lucinda Brandt will keep pressing all the way to the finish. This bringing to a conclusion, I'm just looking at her programme to see if she's got one more race. I think she might be doing the exact cross next weekend. I'll check that a bit nearer the end maybe. But as you said, Jeremy, she will not be thinking about it at all, but this will be helping very much her classics preparation today. A really big, hard dig like this. 40 seconds down. Inge van der Heide just giving maybe a bit of encouragement to Annemarie Verst there. Penny for what they were saying, Jeremy.
I'm not sure on that, actually. I'm not sure exactly what's happening there. Just maybe a bad moment for Verst.
Final lap to go for our leader, our series leader, our final race leader. And I think I touted earlier that she'd won 3 rounds. She hasn't. She won the Telenet Cross the second round. Third round she won at Merckxplas. She won at Hoostenzolder. She won again at Gullicum just a week or so ago, just before the Worlds, of course, pre-Worlds. So either side of this World Championships, we know that in this January into February block, she's been in great form. That is the group who are racing to stay inside the top 10. Laura Verdenschot there alongside Denise Betsemer as well. There was 3 of them there too. The other thing, Jeremy, that we've not mentioned yet, and in a way we shouldn't need to mention it, we shouldn't have to mention it, but I will mention it, the importance of having a black rider at the very top of our sport as well, because there are so few in terms of recognition of black female athletes at the top, certainly in cyclocross. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado with Dominican Republic heritage, she must be a real inspiration for young black female racing cyclists, I'd have thought. And it's something, as I say, that I almost don't want to mention, but I'm going to, because it will be very inspiring for some.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think it's awesome to see the diversity in the group, and I think it's great that she's able to come out and her family is like you said, from I believe the Caribbean, and she's got that. She's just been able to continue to push it up. I think, I was able to go out and work with the Legion of LA when I was working with GCN and do a piece on Justin Williams and their team and the Legion team, and really got to hear a lot about what they're shooting for and what they're pushing for to be able to make the sport more inclusive and to feel like it's something for everyone. And it was awesome for me to be able to spend that time with them. And, I've never spoken to Celine about it, but I'm sure that it is a part of how proud she is of what she's been able to accomplish during her run.
Absolutely. So this is the last lap for our leading riders. Which way are these two going to finish around? I suspect it'll be Inge van der Heide who takes the most points because she needs them. Let me remind you, third place was Denise Betsemer. Now, I don't think she's going to be too much of a threat to Inge van der Heide here. And Lucinda Brandt, though, is still sitting around about 40 seconds down on our race leader, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado.
was just going to mention again, for anyone that joined us that maybe missed when Jez was talking about it earlier, the winner of this series, which is looking to be, like it is going to be, Ceylin, is looking at an overall purse of 25,000 euros. Second place is going to be getting 16,000 euros. Third place, 10,000 euros, Jez. And then that's not to mention on top of each of the races, they get 2,500 euros for winning. And then there's usually a start contract as well. So this is, you're going to see a lot of smiles at the end of this for the riders that have done the overall quite well. How's that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice fillip, particularly across all the different series where you could be making pretty tidy money, I'd have thought, as well. This is, of course, why Jeremy Powers is like a man of leisure now in his palace, milking all the money he's made across his cyclocross career. You should see the cars he drives, folks. I tell you, take your pick, one for each day of the week, you know.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You should see the garage. Yeah. The 2013 Toyota Tacoma is a luxury mobile that you wouldn't know.
Surely a man like you would have a Corvette or something like that, or like a Stingray. Anyway, enough about cars, because we need to focus on our leading rider, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, who is homing in on the finish. She's got cups of beer being virtually splashed in her face. The sale of frites and Belgian beer is about to take a dip in Flanders, because cyclocross season is coming to a conclusion. They'll refortify themselves, no doubt, and get the potatoes in, because the classic season is on the way. But there will be a dip in sales in between, there's no doubt about that. Back along the off-camber grass, which has not caused too much problem for our elite women today, certainly not for these two. Which way is that going to finish? Alvarado again having a little smile to herself there, I think, Jeremy.
Yeah, like I said, there's going to be a lot of smiling here, because she's realizing, this is the after just a couple of years of she had some injuries, she had some things happen. She wasn't at her best, after trying. She kept trying, but she wasn't getting there. She's finishing 7th, 8th, 9th. She just wasn't her best. She's come back this year. She put a focus on this series. She's been able to put it together every single time she's shown up. She's been a contender for the win, and she's won a lot of these races. Today she comes out here, she wins another Super Prestige, and she takes the overall title. What's there to not smile about?
Absolutely. Lucinda Brand not quite making it all the way through there. Let's see if Anne-Marie Wurst has. She's been the best through this sand, I think, Wurst. I've seen her make it all the way through most times, and there she is again, the former European champion. Oh, I say that, just making it through, and in doing so, again distancing Inge van der Heide. Van der Heide looking comfortable in that second place overall.
Perhaps when they were talking about just racing for the finish. Like, hey, thanks for getting me to this point. Like, I'm in the clear, and race hard. Let's race for this last spot on the podium together. So maybe that's what Van der Heide was saying to Anne-Marie first. They are good friends, so there's no drama there. They're good friends. They're often on each other's social media, vacationing, hanging out, training. So they're good pals.
So Celine Del Carmen Alvarado for the final time into the washboard. Those big false mud pumps cleanly through there, not getting sideways at all, and now she really is homing in on the finish. And these are the faster bits of the course here, and that compacted soil, none of the mud that we've seen over the last few weeks. And the crowd, knowing when they see a great champion who's coming in to take the overall win, giving her a clap, pressing her on her way. She's back onto the road, and here we go. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado is going to get her 5th win in the Telenet Superprestige Series. And here at the North Sea Cross in Middelkerke, she takes the win overall and the round win. And boy, did she make it look easy. It's anything but she was in an utter state of flow, Jeremy, right there, wasn't she?
She was, yeah. She was focused. She had good legs, and those are the kinds of days that you love being a cyclocross racer, right? She's going to go back, and in 30 minutes she's going to be eating some food after the podium, and she's going to be just sitting in her trailer ready to go. She's going to be laughing.
Lucinda Brand, after an excellent season, 3rd at those World Championships 1 week ago, and 2nd here today at the North Sea Cross in Middelkerke. Anne-Marie Wurst coming in for 3rd. And she's been working with Inge van der Heide the whole race. Van der Heide will finish 2nd. She will take, by the way, 16,000 euros for that 2nd place in the Telenet Superprestige Series. I should point out, by the way, that this shouldn't need pointing out, but I'll say it anyway. The men are on exactly the same prize money. And it hasn't always been thus across our great sport, Jeremy, has it? But thankfully now it is much more uniform, and the men's prize money is exactly the same as the women's. Of course it should be. This is Nora Verdenschott, who's coming in for 5th, if I'm not mistaken, and she is delighted with that too.
Great ride.
She's had a strong second half of the season. Betsema looking down at her watch. I'm not sure whether she's might be indicating that she'd wished the race had been a bit longer. I think that was quite a deliberate long look at the watch there, Jeremy, as she came to the line. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it was not her best day, that's for sure.
No.
6th is not what she came here for, but that will probably be enough. It will be enough for her to remain on the overall podium. So, not the day that she wanted, but it does cement her as one of the most consistent riders in this series throughout the entire cyclocross season.
Marion Norbert-Ribeiro, the Belgian rider for CRÉDITOS Fristads, has just finished in 7th. This is Anna Kay, the British rider for the 777 team. Kay, who was, where was she at the Worlds last week? I'm just looking back down. 18th. 18th of the World Championships. A bit of a comeback season for her after a terrible year last year, and looking much more consistent, Anna Kay, this year. She is 9th. There we go. Fantastic celebration. Season nearly over for these utterly dedicated cyclocross riders. As you said, Jeremy, it is a long season, and most weekends double races, then some midweek races as well. If there isn't a midweek race, I guess there's that massive midweek training session as well, where it's like a simulated race anyway. This is just fleshing out our top 10 now as well. The Italian riders finishing strongly as well. Baroni and Garibaldi in 9th and 10th. And this is Manon Bakker for CRÉDITOS Fristads coming in right now. Next of our Dutch women.
There'd be a little bit of squawk in the press, I'm sure, about the shorter race today. Not sure why that was either. It was a little bit short, only in the 40-minute range, just at 40. I think they're, we're trying to get closer to 50. There could definitely been an additional lap, but today ran it a little bit shorter. I'm not sure what the exact reasoning for that would have been, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess once you've made that, they have to. I wouldn't. But you probably know this, Jeremy. I'm absolutely terrible with numbers and things like that. Numbers and time, I'm awful at, which is not great as a cycling commentator. As we see Leonie Bentveld coming in after her really strong start, just outside the top 10, of course. Yeah, those commissaires there at the finish line, they have to make that call really quickly, don't they? They make the call during the course of that second lap. At the end of the second lap, they're then putting the sign up for how many laps they have to go. Now, I couldn't work that out if you gave me all the time in the week, let alone the space of a few minutes on that second lap. So I guess sometimes they do get it wrong.
Yeah, it happens. Not sure on that. I can't say I've ever been in the position where I've had to put in the amount of laps, but I have seen this scene before where Alvarado and her mom are, locked as she comes through here to the podium. She looks like she's just ecstatic here. We're going to get this. This is the as the riders come back through, they they grab their protein shakes, they grab their jackets, and then they ride through to an area where there's finish line, the flash interview cameras. So right now, Alvarado's going to be putting her bike down and just kind of getting in front of that big wall with all of the sponsors on it, and then she's going to be giving this interview here just right after the race as she gives her thoughts. So you can't get it any more live and direct than that. Right off after the finish of the race, the riders come right in for their interviews.
So we should be able to just grab this interview with our race and series winner, and winner of 5 rounds of the Telenet Superprestige series, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. Jeremy, you might expect me to say this when we're of course watching. Here we go. Let's have a see what she says.
Heel veel ronden de tijd gehad, denk ik, al om eens na te denken wat deze tweede Superprestige-overwinning betekent voor jou.
Ja, dat voelt natuurlijk enorm goed. Het is heel fijn dat ik vandaag met de eindoverwinning naar huis mag en dat ook nog maar afsluiten met een overwinning.
5 op 8 pak je, dan ben je gewoon de verdiende eindwinnares.
Ja, dat denk ik toch ook wel.
En je hebt het niet spannend gemaakt vandaag. Was dat het plan vooraf ook, om meteen in die eerste ronde te laten voelen van je gaat hem niet meer afpakken?
Ja, eigenlijk Had ik wel het plan inderdaad om er al vrij snel korte metten mee te maken. Maar dat gebeurde eerder dan ik had gedacht zelf. Uiteindelijk was het eigenlijk een soort van een beetje frustratie eruit fietsen van vorige week. Wat niet zo goed ging. Dus daar heb ik vandaag gedaan en nu, dat voelt terug goed.
Wat kun je hiervan meenemen naar volgend seizoen bijvoorbeeld?
Ja, ik denk dat mijn vorm gewoon blijft stijgen en dat ik terug in orde ben. En dat ik voor volgend seizoen gewoon weer terug bij de top hoor.
Heb je geen zin om maandag langs te komen in de podcastcross?
Dat zou kunnen, ja.
We zullen het nog even bespreken straks. Dankjewel.
Yeah, just a quick, just talking about getting the job done early in this race, kind of breaking away quickly, talking about having good form throughout her entire season, and being able to show consistency throughout the year, like we talked about, Jess. I think is the name of the game for Alvarado.
Kunnen vaststellen. Ben je daar nog het meest tevreden mee?
Ja,
Dus
dat denk ik wel. Dat was juist het doel vandaag, om die veilig te stellen. En dat is gelukt, dus doel geslaagd.
En goed kunnen samenwerken ook met je teamgenote Annemarie Worst. We zagen je haar een schouderklopje geven ook. Waarom was dat?
Nou, ik had natuurlijk misschien haar hulp wel heel hard nodig vandaag. En ze wilde me graag helpen. En ze heeft heel erg de best gedaan van mij. Dus zij verdiende sowieso die derde plaats.
Was dat afgesproken een beetje dan?
Ja, de laatste ronde had ik wel gezegd dat die sowieso voor haar was. En ze heeft ontzettend veel werk voor mij gedaan. Dus daar ben ik haar heel dankbaar voor.
Dankjewel en proficiat met die tweede plaats in de Superprestige.
Yeah. So talking a little bit there just about her second place overall. Also that it was exactly that, Jez, that she talked about Anna-Marie and her kind of fighting for that last spot, and she was able to get third spot, and they went for it. So I think that was good. Anna-Marie, was strong, and that's they were racing. They're friends, but they were racing today.
Laura Verdonschot, proficiat, vijfde plaats vandaag in de Superprestige. Dat is een geweldig resultaat.
Ja, zeker. Mijn beste resultaat tot nu toe. Ik had in de wereldbekers ook al wel 2 top 10 plaatsen genoteerd. En de vorm was goed en dan ziek geworden. En ik had niet verwacht dat het er nu nog zou uitkomen. Maar Maldegem was goed en vandaag ging het ook goed. Ik had mijn start gemist. Anders had er misschien nog wel iets meer in gezeten als het niet van waar ik kom vandaag. Maar ik mag zeker niet klagen.
Want hoe ver ben je ongeveer moeten terugkomen?
Ik denk dat ik rond de 20e positie zat in het begin. En het is overal een beetje opstopping dan. Maar mijn eigen niet druk gemaakt. Ik had in mijn achterhoofd dus morgen terugcross. En dat ligt me ook goed. Maar toen voelde ik dat ik redelijk goed begon op te schuiven. En dan kwam ik van groepje naar groepje. En toen zag ik opeens dat ik terug voor de 5e plaats kon rijden. En maakte ik een goede passage door de zandbak. Ik reed volledig door. En dan kon ik eigenlijk de aansluiting maken bij Denise en bij Marion. En mijn plan was om
She
daar
was
de
able
laatste
to
ronde
use
ook weg
the
te rijden.
sand strip to come past Denise and Marion Ribarola.
En je zegt dat je was op een vervelend moment eigenlijk ziek geworden. Hè? Dat is er helemaal uit dan?
Ja, ik denk het wel. Ik denk dat ik anders deze prestaties niet kan leveren. 2K was helemaal niet goed. En de kosten voordien ook niet. En het BK heb ik daardoor moeten missen. Maar ik ben blij dat ik nu wel kan bewijzen dat mijn vorm wel goed was. En dat het zeker jammer was dat ik er niet bij was op het nationaal kampioenschap.
Smaakt naar meer dit?
Ja, ik hoop het wel. Ik hoop nog mooi afsluiten de komende 3 weken en goed de rust in te kunnen gaan.
Succes, dankjewel.
She's got some rest coming up, like all of the crossers here, just after these races are finished up.
27-year-old Laura Verdenschot, the first non-Dutch woman in there, getting in between Inge van der Heijden and Denise Betsema. Of course, her countrywoman, Marion Norberg-Riberol, in 7th, but a great ride by the 2 Belgian riders. This was the start as it happened. Jeremy, do you want to talk us through how you saw this race unfolding?
Yeah, well, like Alvarado said, she got right after it. She made work happen right from the beginning, and she didn't look back. We call it a pin-to-pin race, right? You lead from the first moments of it, and then you go through the whole thing. This is the sandstrop, as they call it here in Belgium, and she was quick on her feet there to establish a big gap. This is a traditional tactic in the world of European cyclocross. Get the gap, establish the gap, and then kind of build it up throughout. But this was the real Achilles heel for Lucinda Brand. Every lap she lost time here, but she was able to ride the sand where a lot of other riders weren't able to, and she was able to really grit her way through. Annemarie Verst, Inge van der Heijden, the 2 777 women, who are really trying to fight each other for that spot on the podium, that last spot, as they did battle with Brand, but Brand flew the coop, as they say, Jez.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can just see the force with which she pedals Quite different to these other two here as well. Absolute power, as you say, through the sandpit there. And then we saw that gap just start to go. Brand just winding her way away from the two 777 riders. And then we watched this. Yeah, this was the moment where we saw our leader, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, just slowing in a little bit too much after getting rid of her gloves, but making it over the washboard section. And then the 777s were coming back to Brand as well. That big hard push by her was being neutralised by these two. Once again, Anne-Marie Wurst riding the sand section, but Alvarado taking the 5th win of the season. And all 5 of her wins this year have come in the Telenet Superprestige. That is, as you said, Jeremy, a singular focus, really, on this series.
Yeah. And Anna-Marie finishing off with third spot. We didn't get to hear from Anna-Marie Wurst, but I'm sure that she's happy with it. You know, after the win in Muldegem during the middle of the week, it's like a Wednesday race that they do in a park. It's the park cross in Muldegem. She takes the victory there, and now she's on the podium again. It's good. This is good energy and good momentum. So here's the overall.
Yep, that's the top 10 confirmed. You said the first non-Dutch woman was Laura Verdonschot. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado taking the win ahead of Lucinda Brand and Marie Wurst. Inge van der Heijden, who finishes second in the series as well. Just to complete that, we're just going, yes, we're going to see it again. So I'm just trying to work out what we're actually looking at there, because there are riders who've worked their way up into... no, I'm not sure what that is, what we've just seen. Jeremy, I have no idea what that was. We'll ignore that one, because the first one was definitely correct. And the winner is unmistakable. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado finishes off as she had intended with the 5th win of the season. Join us for the men's race, which is coming up at the Home of Cycling imminently. So we are going to get an interview with Anne-Marie Wurst.
Wat is jouw analyse van de wedstrijd van vandaag?
Ik had niet een hele goede start. Ik was een beetje gewoon slecht weg. En het ging eigenlijk niet super. Maar ik probeerde eigenlijk een beetje mijn ploeggenootje te helpen. Inge, die natuurlijk goed in het klassement. En eigenlijk wel waar gewoon probeerde de tweede plek kon houden in het klassement. En dat is denk ik gelukt.
En dan mag jij mee op het podium.
Mee op het podium. Inderdaad, toch een troostprijs.
Was dat een beetje afgesproken wel?
Nee, eigenlijk niet. Ik probeerde haar gewoon te helpen. En ik merkte wel in het draaien een keer dat het mij altijd wel makkelijk ging bij Inge. Maar ik dacht van ik kan proberen haar gewoon op stuk nog een beetje te helpen. Dat ze in ieder geval een beetje safe zat voor de tweede plek in het klassement. En het laatste stuk probeerde zag ik alleen nog Lucinda nog rijden. Ik dacht, ik kan nog proberen naar haar te rijden. Maar dat was net iets te ver. Dus uiteindelijk derde plek.
Wat ontbrak er dan vandaag?
And then it was fair play for third place once that was
secured. Ik heel veel heb gemist en waarschijnlijk ook een beetje de kracht verspeeld had. En ik had gewoon geen superdag. Dus dat miste een beetje.
Ik weet niet of jij een fervente luisteraar bent van de podcast Cross, maar jouw ploegleider is daar langsgekomen, Camille van den Berg. En die mocht zeggen wie volgend jaar wereldkampioen werd bij de vrouwen.
She's talking about the podcast with Camille Vandenberg, her manager. I'm not familiar with the joke, but there's something happening here.
Tuurlijk, als alles weer goed loopt en als je gaat zoals een paar jaar geleden, dan is het zeker een grote kans. Maar dan moet het in ieder geval zo gaan.
Wel leuk als hij dat zegt, hoor.
Ja, zeker. Hij heeft veel vertrouwen in mij.
Dat mag ook wel dan, hè?
Ja, leuk. Zeker leuk. En daar ga ik ook zeker voor.
Dankjewel. Succes.
I have a feeling, Jeremy, that I need to listen to that podcast. It might help improve my Dutch with Camille Vandenberg. I might have to listen to that.
Yeah, he was out there on the track. He's a former rider. But here's Lucinda Brand. Second place. Was that the best possible today?
2 keer achter elkaar wel, ja zeker.
Waarom breekt het dan aan op dat moment? Is dat een technisch foutje? Jouw ploegleider had het ook over explosiviteit?
Ja, explosiviteit is sowieso hier wel, heb je wel nodig en heb ik wat minder. Dus dan moet je wat meer compenseren natuurlijk op de rest. Maar ik maakte gelijk in die zandbak een grote fout. En toen sloeg
sandbank I was able to ride.
En op zich zaten we goed toen met Anna-Marie en Inge.
And that allowed me to come back to Inge and Anna-Marie.
Dus dan moet ik eerst dat gat goed maken natuurlijk. Ja, dan weet je dat sowieso plek 1 sowieso gevlogen is.
Wel goed als je het kunt halen van 2 ploegmaats die kunnen samenwerken.
Ja, nee zeker. Ik ben ook wel gewoon heel blij met mijn tweede plek. En het zag er misschien wel wat klungig uit soms op dat heuveltje. Maar ik wist dat ik het kon rijden, dus ik wilde het gewoon graag blijven proberen.
Ik vraag mij dan af, als je vooraf het gevoel hebt van dit parcours, dat is niet helemaal mijn ding. Hoe moeilijk is dat dan mentaal in zo'n wedstrijd?
Ja, je moet dat zijn van die dingen die je niet kunt veranderen. Dus dan is de challenge om dat te accepteren en om het beste mee om te gaan en het beste eruit te halen. En de plekken waar je het wel goed kan, om die nog extra goed te benutten.
Dankjewel.
Lucinda Brandt, Jeremy, now 33 years of age and still looking so good at the end of this season. But that hand injury, you can't help but think what if here, because she's actually only had one win this season. That came right at the beginning in the exact cross at Mühlebeke, the Berencross. And since then, she's been very consistent, but not winning. Denise Betsema.
Wel echt een deceptie. Ik kwam hier wel echt om te winnen. Ik heb dat de vorige jaren ook wel laten zien dat het hier lukte. En ja, ik mis dan een beetje de start. Ik word vastgereden. En ja, toen daarna kwam ik eigenlijk niet meer echt in mijn ritme. Dus ik baal echt enorm.
In principe is het ook wel een parcours dat jij zou moeten liggen.
Ja, precies. En ja, het liep gewoon niet vanaf de start. En ja, toen op een moment leek ik nog even de aansluiting te kunnen maken. Maar ja, dan maak ik een foutje. En ja, het liep gewoon niet. Dus alle focus maar op morgen.
Die derde plaats in de Superprestige, is dat dan een troostprijs?
Ja, dat kun je wel stellen. Natuurlijk hoopte ik aan het begin van het seizoen om die leiderspositie gewoon vast te houden. En nou ja, dat is niet gelukt, maar toch mooi om vandaag nog op het podium te kunnen staan.
Dankjewel.
She's excited to stand on the podium, a bright spot for her to be third overall.
Those braces are new as well. I don't actually think she had the braces at the beginning of the season either, and I hadn't noticed them in the race, Jeremy. Not that you would, I guess, because she's not one to bare her teeth quite as much as some of the others when she's going for it. But,
yeah, an off season. I remember having braces, and they were quite painful. So I wouldn't want to be doing that during. There's already enough pain in my body when I was racing cross. I don't need it in my teeth as well. But her season ending after pretty much next weekend, it will be the final. She's got a big race tomorrow, right? Of course, she's got in Lula at the Croatian Cross, so she'll be out there. But yeah, she's ending her year up, and she's. Yeah, she's decided to take that on. As we see Ellen van Looy, who I got to catch up with at Worlds. That's the rider here in the purple and pink De Koester jersey. Really a long time, a veteran of cyclocross racing, Ellen van Looy. But she's retiring, and she's going to go into being in part of the teams as she comes into her retirement now.
Yes, a very long racing career. I think she had talked about retiring at the end of last season, but carried on one more year. And it's notable how much of her experience, you can see it at races, can't you? How much, we notice it, I certainly have noticed it in the warm-up laps, you know, just practice laps prior to it, the amount of experience and knowledge she seems to be imparting to the younger riders on that De Koester team.
Yeah, and I mean, you see that today with Laura Verdonschot. You know, this is a great example of exactly how this all works, and I think that she's for sure going to be really happy as now Braun comes together with Annemarie Verst and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado here behind the podium before they do their official UCI podium presentation.
Yes, I'm suspecting we're going to have the individual round podium first, and we might get an overall series round, of course, as well. That's a fantastic shot. They obviously, maybe they don't know they're on camera at the moment, just listening in.
Yeah, that's it, right? You're just listening to the organizer, waiting to be called up.
So Annemarie Verst, our third place finisher today here at the final round in Middelkerke, the North Sea Cross in Flanders, Belgium, pressed up against the North Sea. Very kind to them today, the North Sea. Not a big wind and not overly cold either, about 8 degrees as well to finish this Telenet Superprestige season. 3 different teams represented on this podium too, the 777 team, and then the next up, the Baloise Trek Lions and Lucinda Brandt. A former European champion and a former world champion up on the podium. And they await the arrival of another former world champion, of course.
En tot slot de leading lady. Ja, ze heeft er een knallervolle Telenet Superprestige Middelkerke op zitten. Ze sluit af met een zege hier in Middelkerke met de Noordzee-cross. Jullie applaus voor Celine Del Carmen Alvarado.
Winning 5 of the 8 rounds. A dominant performance from a rider who's targeted the Telenet Superprestige and is reaping the rewards. She definitely did look even more in control. Maybe it's that way, Jeremy, when you're in the lead of a race, but even more so than in Ugarida. Either side of it,